They have city tax, county tax, and in one town, the town owns the electric company. And whenever they're short of money, they raise the electric rates. And one of our son's friends, they live out in Palm Beach County. They took the kids out of the Palm Beach County School, which is about the largest county, and they put them in private school. So what's happened is, yes, they aren't paying any taxes, but still they're taxing everything. You can't walk into a place without having a tax. And you know, you got the county tax, the city tax. I mean, it's all. I mean, we maybe are becoming more like the rest of the country, where things are actually growing. You know, I mean, the state is still growing, but try and find a manufacturing job. You're going to be working for a company that provides services. And we all use services. I use more services than I ever did in my life. So if I go down and get my dry cleaning, I have to add a couple. I really pay taxes on dry cleaning already. But how often do I get my car repaired? Maybe once or twice a year. And so I have to go to work and pay a little bit of sales tax in that service. But that is where the jobs are. You have to pay the people. So
you're for the
I'm for profit, yeah, because what's changed, you know.
By the way, our SD 48 represent both Minnetonka and Eden Prairie. I represent the Eden Prairie side. So the question that I have in mind is when I look at the total cost and where the difference could be made, when I look at 41% of our total budget goes to K through 12, and when I'm hearing the quality, although we are very proud of our quality, when I compare it to other countries in the world, it doesn't, so what we really need to focus in this global economy and continue to do that is not pay any more in that bucket, A. B, how do you improve the quality? Because we don't want to hear that people are taking their children out to private schools. Because I am all for public education, because I have come from an economy where there was no public education. However, the quality needs to improve without paying any more money.
And you know what we're doing? I serve, and I should have told you before, the committees that I serve on education finance, I serve on energy policy and transportation policy. And one of the things that we're really working on in education finance is to make sure that we're making targeted investments and that we are demanding accountability for the money that we are investing. There are some streams of revenue that we have, schools just traditionally have gotten, and we're asking the question, are these particular programs doing what they're supposed to do? In some cases, the answer is yes, and in some cases, the answer is no. We target a lot of money towards closing the achievement gap. Minnesota has one of the worst achievement gaps in the nation. And so we are looking at the money that we give schools for that, and we're looking at providing it in a way that demands results, because you can't just keep pouring money. You can't. Well, the definition of not being smart is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
How about preschool? Like the president touched on it the other day. But we spend our children through Montessori school, and they both are explicit. I'm prejudiced here. But anyway, but so many children don't have an opportunity, and they get kindergarten and they're already behind.
Right, and one of the things when we make strategic investments in early childhood education, research shows, and I'm talking about research from hard-headed business people like Art Lolnick, shows that we get a tremendous return on investment for money that we put into early childhood education, as long as we continue to track and help those kids. Because if you just put a child in early childhood education and they come from, and poverty has a lot to do with it, they come from an impoverished background, they lose a lot of their momentum and the gains they made by third grade if they don't continue to have support. But the research shows, if you can get students reading on grade level, I'm a former teacher, by the end of third grade, their chances for graduation and success in life just shoot up astronomically. And we all know the money that we spend on prisons, the money we spend on unsuccessful mental health interventions, And so I do feel that strategic investments in early childhood, programs that have met the criteria of Parent Aware, which is a rating system that has been put together by a consortium of private businesses that shows that this is a good program. We aren't just flinging money at everyone. I do think that those investments are sound and in the long run will help us save scarce resources and help students be productive.
While we're on that question, I did see down a half dozen, several people were asking about higher education, college.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Well, while we're on that topic.
Sure. We have, the best, you know that student debt in Minnesota is the highest in the nation. And that what has happened as the time has gone by and the legislature looks for ways to reduce spending so that we could balance the budget. Higher education has really been hit, and I believe, and maybe John can help me at this, but we are funding in real dollars, not $20 adjustment for inflation, but we're funding at about the level of 1990 or
Below.
19. So we're funding, the number that sticks, the date that sticks in my head at 1987 levels. And so in Minnesota, we used to look upon higher education as being an investment, and the state paid about 2/3. And I always believe, you know, you have some skin in the game, and families and students paid about 1/3. Well, now I believe the state pays about 20%. Yeah, about 20%. And so students are having tremendous debt, and they're postponing marriage. You know, it's very difficult for them. So I do think that we, number one, need to hold our higher education institutions accountable so that we know they're spending their money wisely. And I'm waiting to hear what the University of Minnesota has to say about, I think it was the Wall Street Journal article that said they have really high administrative costs. So I think we have to hold them accountable. But I do agree with the governor that we do need to help the students. We need to do something to at least help freeze tuition and make sure that any dollars we spend in that area are going to students and not just more administration.
Yes, back there. I see a very good question. Next.
Well, I know you have a difficult job, and no matter what you decide, someone's not going to be happy.
I know that, Stan.
However, what I'm hopeful for is we stop seeing what we've seen in the past of no new taxes but fees everywhere. All these gimmicks and borrowing from our schools and shifting and ending the legislative session saying we have a surplus and starting it saying we have a deficit. I hope you will be honest and truthful and tell us the facts and not hide behind the
Stan,
curtains.
I am the chief author, and I put myself out there of House File number 1 that pays back the grade A payment to our schools. Because we need to stop, and you know, you can call them tools in the toolbox. I think it's a gimmick or a shift when you delay a payment to the schools and say that you have a surplus and that you balance the budget. Because that's simply what the result is. We do have a lower credit rating by all 3 major credit rating agencies, and though, as John pointed out, right now that's not too big of a deal, but interest rates are not always going to be low, we know that. They will go up, and also when you engage in, all the 3 credit rating agencies cited our use of gimmicks and shifts and borrowing. We bonded against future tobacco settlements to pay bills as a reason for lowering our credit rating. And not only does the state have to pay higher interest rates than when the state borrows, but every unit of local government, down to the cities and the school boards, have got to pay a higher interest rate. So I think we have to, that's why I'm listening today, but I do have, so I don't want you to think I'm like, you know, just a wash rag here. I do have some principles. We do need to stop the gimmicks and shifts. We have to pay back our schools. We cannot bond to pay bills. And so now we're having the conversation, what services do we want? I hear that we want better schools. I believe we have to have targeted spending. We do have to make some strategic investments, but I want to hear from you more about how you want us to make those investments. But I will say that holding spending flat has resulted not in tough decisions, but in shifts, borrowing, and gimmicks.